Welcome to the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network.
Hello again, members of the intelligentsia. I'm your host, John Jeffers, here on the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network. Tonight is call-in night, and believe it or not, we actually have a caller, a longtime supporter and fan of Contra Radio Network. Mr. Cook, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Guy. You wanted some airtime. You wanted to say some things. So here it is. Rock on, my brother.
Okay, will do. Lately, you've been reading on the internet and probably hearing on the news online that the Floyd protesters had nothing to do with the spread of COVID-19 nationwide and for the subsequent spikes. I'm here to tell you that's a lie.
What? You mean the media has lied to us?
Well, it's not the first time.
Oh, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, sir. I'm disappointed.
Right. So what I did was, if you go online and look for like the national Floyd map, Floyd protesting map, it'll be on USA Today. It's a national map with blue dots all over the place, indicating the states and where the protests occurred. And if you click on the dots, it'll also give you a news item indicating exactly where and when those protests occurred. And then on the other hand, there was another map on New York Times that was the national COVID hot zone map. Apparently, USA Today and New York Times used the same national template, map template.
No. Say it ain't so.
Yeah. So they both overlay fine. So what I did was I transparently overlaid the New York Times national hotspot COVID map over the USA Today's Floyd protest map, and there's just way too many correlations for with the hotspots, the Floyd protests to the hotspots, to dismiss them as a contributing factor, or for that matter, one of the major causes of the spread of COVID-19 and the subsequent spikes that followed. For some strange reason, the news networks are trying to give the protesters, the same protesters who, wreaked havoc going from one community to the next, bringing violence and destruction, as well as COVID-19, to a lot of areas. For some reason, they're being given a clean pass.
Of course.
And it's just, that's what frustrates me. And it's like, I tried to send my data that I had, and plus the images, to Fox News. They didn't respond much. So I'm not exactly sure if this will ever get out, to be honest with you. I do have a YouTube channel where it shows how I did this, where it graphically shows the map overlay and the clear correlations. Now, some may argue because, people with education and college degrees can be assholes sometimes. So, and from time to time, I have my moments. So some of them then will say, well, correlation does not equate to causation, which may be true. However, if you have too many correlations, that means that it cannot be eliminated as a contributing factor either. So I'm convinced that the Floyd protests, if they weren't a major contributing cause, at the very least they were a contributing cause to many of the spikes that has occurred in states like California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida. The media is saying that it was Trump rallies that caused this, but to date, the Trump rallies only occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Orlando, Florida, which has nothing to do with California, Arizona, or Texas. So it's a big cover-up, and it's really disappointing to see how far our national news agencies have digressed to the point of blatantly lying to the American people for propaganda instead of just reporting the plain simple truth as journalists tend to do over the past several decades.
Okay. I'm curious. Has BLM helped one black American get a job or an education? Have they cleaned up one city? Built any rec centers? Have they really helped any black Americans at all?
No.
I agree.
They haven't, at least not that any reports would indicate, because I didn't see any indication of BLM helping any or having any types of programs whatsoever. There was one report saying that the head of BLM says this is about, getting rid of Trump, and that's all it was about, which does follow with the fact that the BLM and Antifa protests, the Floyd protests, occurred and continue to spread, despite the fact that it was revealed one police officer out of the 4 that was there when Floyd died was white, which clearly says that it's not white supremacy or racism that's the issue. Not to mention Floyd's relatives begged for the violence to stop, but in spite of that, they still continue doing it because, well, apparently they're being given a free pass from the press. So I guess the law doesn't really apply anymore. And I'm not going to single out the protests. A lot of the state governors and the mayors of the cities where these protests occurred, they didn't do their jobs.
What?
We were still in the national pandemic. All the states were in some phase of trying to reopen. Not any state was fully reopened, and that's going to be a major contention for debate. I'm saying that none of the states were fully reopened. They were still in some type of phase of trying to reopen by the time that the Floyd protest started. But the fact that there was a mass gathering of people with and without masks, still in what is technically a pandemic state across the country, it's very clear that none of the elected officials did their jobs.
No, they gave a pass. They gave a pass to the rioters. They've lost all moral authority to insist that the rest of us go back to lockdown. Not when you give a pass like that. And that's what they did. And you're right.
Yeah.
They abdicated their responsibilities, and they did it because they wanted Orange Man to look bad. Well, the fact of the matter is, and Chuck, you'll agree with me, I know, and that is very simple. Trump didn't close the economy. The state's governors closed their economies.
That's correct. And by doing so, they also delayed normalcy being returned to American lives. So,
very much so.
And since then, there's been a domino effect that occurred because normalcy was not returned, because the post-COVID-19 economic recovery did not happen, because a lot of states have rolled back their opening phases to an earlier stage, or just basically close everything down, like California recently did in the past 24 hours. There's another group of people who are conservative, but are sick and tired of wearing masks. So there's a movement right now. I call them anti-mask crusaders. And yeah, so they're coming. They're going to try to say that this is all about freedom, rights, and all that stuff. And I'm saying it isn't. No, I'm saying that if they go out to protest, if they go to stores without masks. And a lot of stores have the mandatory mask rule now in different states, and whatever. It's going to be back and forth. But if the protesters go out without masks, they will spread it just like the protesters did, or the Floyd protesters did. Maybe not to the scale as the Floyd protesters have, but spread it still they will. It is still an incontrovertible fact. COVID-19 does kill. Now, the question mark may be based on the rate of fatalities, which is pretty low. Recently, it was at 4%. Now it's like 3.8% last I checked. I got to look at the numbers, but I haven't done that yet for today. And it varies state per state. But the point is, it's going to kill someone. And what I think and Dawn's part of it, to be honest with you. I don't mean to implicate her, but she's pretty much all for this, and I'm against it. The way I see it, the problem with the whole anti-mask protests or movement is that some of them might be known asymptomatic, but carriers are the same. Many more of them will probably not know if they have it or not because they haven't gotten checked. So a lot of them may or may not be carriers and know of it. You know what I mean? If they do go out and spread it, then they're going to be no different, at least from a moral perspective, than the Floyd protesters were. And I would consider them to be another group of bioterrorists who deserve no justice any more than the Floyd protesters demanded for it. You know
All
what
right.
I mean?
Here's my take.
Okay.
And it is this. Wearing a mask is a personal choice. I do, because I am at risk. I understand that. Now, you may not be at risk. So if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. But if you can, if by some chance you happen to contract the virus, you have no one to blame but yourself, unless you're a Democrat, in which case you just blame Trump for everything. For example, if I get up and I stub my toe in the morning, I blame Trump. If my laundry isn't clean, I blame Trump. If by some chance my dog looks at me funny, I blame Trump. So there you have it. It's just a personal choice, in my opinion. Now, we had the swine flu in this country. There were no economies shut down. There were no masks. And to add into your what you're saying, Chuck, is this. I remember Fauci and the Surgeon General at the beginning of this saying, don't wear a mask. It won't help you. It won't help you. Don't wear a mask. And then they backtracked and said, yeah, wear a mask. And then they backtracked again and said, no, don't wear a mask. Because there's just not enough masks to go around. We need them for our frontline healthcare workers. And then now they're saying, oh, yeah, wear a mask.
Well, right now the medical community, especially the CDC, are politically reactive to the
overall, they are. I agree.
The overall, what's the word that I'm looking for? Narrative, right?
Right.
So, yeah. But Fauci did say one thing that didn't make sense. The reason why the United States did piss poor in its response to COVID-19 was because of how heavily politicized it was, not just by Trump, but a lot of the news networks and people on the left as well, and local government officials like the health minister.
Hey, Chuck, let me hold you up. I'm like almost 2 minutes over. I got to take a break. I'll be right back. Don't hold the thought. Don't say anything. I'll be right back. I promise.
Okay.
All right.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Life is unpredictable, but you can count on Valley Food Storage to help you and your family prepare. With clean, natural, great-tasting, and long-lasting food storage, with our natural and nutritious freeze-dried food, you'll be storing the food you love to eat. Log on to ContraRadioNetwork.com and click on the Valley Food Storage banner.
right. Thanks for staying with us for the break. I appreciate it. I'm John Jeffers. On the phone with me is Chuck Cook. Chuck, continue on with what you were saying before we went to the break.
Yeah, probably the only thing that Fauci said that might have been accurate was that part of the reason why the United States did such a piss-poor job in responding to COVID-19 was because of how, politicized that it was terribly.
It was.
There was finger pointing that all the left is pointing everything from on Trump, and it's like the left have absolutely no culpability whatsoever, but they do.
They do, absolutely. Pelosi dancing in the streets of Chinatown in San Francisco. Come on down. She was like on the senior citizen version of The Price is Right. Come on down to Chinatown.
So what we have is a typical daily propaganda war that's happening. But this time, instead of, it's not about just votes now. It's about lives, and the stakes are definitely higher. I have lost a couple people in my family, and I hate the fact that I'm saying it because, personally, I think playing the sympathy card is something only a snowflake would do. But that goes to show that there will be fatalities. It's not directly by you because you gave it to them, then maybe indirectly by you because you gave it to someone else, and eventually, someone caught it. Maybe they had a pre-existing condition or not, but they eventually died. But because of the degree of separation, you have no guilt at all. You have no culpability at all. If you go out to protest for Floyd, or for that matter, anti-mask agenda, you're fucking around with probability. And while I'm okay with gambling away your money, when it comes to human lives, that's a totally different thing. Right now, our entire election is riding on the silent majority who basically saved our asses in November 2016. But the silent majority is a wild card variable. You don't know if they're going to come through again this year or not. But I can guarantee you, if you're going to be spreading the virus even further, regardless of what the cause is, Floyd or anti-mask crusade, you're not going to be doing the moral majority any favors. And right now, prior to the whole anti-mask crusade, the way I see it is that after everything that the liberals have done, including the Floyd protests, the violence and destruction that they wrought, the amount of states that the COVID-19 spread to, and the spikes that occurred in those states subsequently later, conservatives right now are morally like saints. We're the good guys. But once you start protesting for a different reason, the effects are still going to be the same. The scale may be smaller, but you're still gambling with people's lives, and I'm not sure if the moral majority will be in support of that come November 2020.
All right. I got Terry Kaas on the line. Terry, welcome to the show. Do you care to opine?
Howdy, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Oh, we're doing ducky. You psycho.
We finally got some rain in my house. The grass was getting a little crunchy.
Yeah. And?
But if that's the only thing I got to worry about, then I'm doing better than 99.9% of America right now.
All right. You have anything you want to add to the face mask controversy?
Oh, man.
Remember, I only have a limited time, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll repeat what I put down on Facebook. My wife and I went to shopping the other day down in Springfield because we haven't been in the area for like 3-4 months. So it's like we finally had a day out. And we stopped in an Olive Garden. And I'm not, she's wearing a mask, but I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, there's no reason. I'm not hanging around people. I'm not even near anybody. So I'm just, we wait for like 15 minutes. They sent us a text. We went inside the restaurant. They showed us where the table was, and the waitress says, "Oh, if you don't have a mask, then we can't serve you." I'm already at my table. And they said, I said, why would you want to wear a mask when you're at a restaurant to eat? You know, they said, no, when you're at your table, you could take it off. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm already here. So they said, but if you don't have a mask, we still can't serve you. And I'm like, that's just stupid, right? I'm already there. So I pulled the mask out of my pocket. I showed her. I put it back in my pocket. And I had like the manager and some other people were looking at me, and I got the look at me like, I don't give a fuck.
You're a murderer.
So yeah, I'm the evil guy. So I'm like, I don't care. I'll have the lasagna.
I don't care. I'll have the lasagna.
Yeah.
That does
So-
present a different problem, though. You got people, self-righteous people, who think that these rules give them a badge, right? Like a moral authority type of badge, where they'll point the finger at you saying, "You're the bad guy. You're not wearing a mask." And there's even before the anti-mask crusade started earlier this week and late last week, that's been the case. Okay, but legally speaking, and again, it depends on what state that you're in. There might be some municipality rules that might play in. I'm not entirely sure. But for the general majority of stores out there, if they're able to do no shirt, no shoes, no service, then they have legal precedence to include the mask in there as well.
Well, I had this talk with my son. My youngest son is 20 years old, and he's now living in Columbia, Missouri.
Misery.
And because he's young, he wants to get away from the country. He wants to go see a little bit of city life. It's a huge college town. University of Missouri is there. And the way he puts it, every 6 months there's a new set of girls come in. I'm like, okay, sow your seed, just don't plan anything. I said, well, about this coronavirus wearing a mask, now do you understand, though? I did have a legitimate talk. I said, you understand, even when you were little, going to school from elementary on up, I always said, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Because in school, they're all typhoid Mary. They're very easy to spread disease. I never had the flu so much as when they were in elementary and middle school, So that's when I really got sick every year. And I said, now, if you're in a crowded location, maybe it's, you got to use your real good judgment about wearing a mask. But it doesn't hurt to wash your hands a lot and use hand sanitizer when you don't have soap available, like on the run. So it's all common sense. That's really what I was getting at. And he understands, so
okay.
That's my outlook.
Anything else?
I guess the jury is out as far as the kids that already have spikes. I'm not entirely sure how much of the anti-mask crusaders are going to add to that number. Probably not nearly as much as the Floyd protests already have. So it's not something that can actually be measured, honestly. And take into the fact that Johns Hopkins University's national database, maybe international database of COVID-19 case counts and fatality counts, their domestic American data have been skewed since March 2020 because of this CDC, the CDC directive for hospitals to presume that all fatalities should be marked on their death certificates with the ICD death code for COVID-19. So there's lots of fatalities out there that of people who have died during the COVID-19 outbreak or pandemic, but they did not necessarily die of COVID-19, but because of that CDC directive, they're being listed as dying from COVID-19. And it's all meant to artificially inflate the numbers, and as a result of that, we have no idea what the actual numbers now. It's all screwed up. We're talking about the same CDC, those jackholes who gave up counting the H1N1 swine flu cases.
Right.
Well, you try looking for historic counts in the United States from 2009, you're just going to see estimated ranges. You're not going to see actual counts because those idiots didn't want to count all that. So, yeah, COVID-19 2020 that has, a much larger number of cases and fatalities, and, then they went ahead and screwed up the entire data. So we don't know what the actual numbers are now. We can keep track of the growth rate still. We'll have an idea of the trend, but actual numbers, forget it. It's because the numbers have been skewed since March. We'll never know.
No, we won't. Oh no. No. The public will never know. There are others that will know.
Right.
And they've also found several counties in, I believe it's Florida, Arizona, California, some other places, where they said, "Oh well, we got so many done." It's a complete lie. News reports also saying that they were ordering new for refrigeration trucks because their morgues are full, and that's been touted out as a lie and they were caught in a lie. I think it was ABC or CBS, one of those two news agencies.
Why?
And
they're all equally bad.
That supports my statement that you can't count on the American news organization to give you
a fair shake.
About anything.
I agree.
Because
yeah,
heavily politicized at this point, and the American people, the audience, can't make an informed decision because of all this bullshit going back and forth.
Well, you just got to be an educated American. Keep your eyes out and try to use your better judgment in things.
All right.
So,
All right, hold on a minute. I got to take a break. Coming up on my mark. We'll be right back. Don't go away. I've got these guys on for the first time together in over a year. So stick around. You won't be sorry.
Propper has made tactical gear with a purpose for over 50 years, since their first U.S. Navy contract in 1967. Today, Propper designs and manufactures professional-level tactical apparel and gear for military, law enforcement, and public safety professionals and civilians, whether in the service, on the job, or off for the weekend. Log on to ContraRadioNetwork.com and click on the Propper banner now.
This is the Contra Radio Network, CRN for all the right reasons.
All right, John Jeffers back on the Jeffers Brief. Thanks for sticking around through the break. I got Terry Kaas and Chuck Cook on the line. First time in well over a year I've had them on. Continue, gentlemen. I will forego the subjects I was going to speak on. So continue. What else did you guys like to talk about?
Well, for me, it was just mainly about my concerns regarding the Floyd protest, but also the recent anti-mask crusade call to action and what's going to happen from that point on as well. It's not going to...
You want to know what drives me crazy, Chuck? You want to know what drives me bonkers? People who put the mask on and they put the top edge of the mask below their nose. It's like, why bother?
Right.
It's like you morons. You're going to get it anyways. You idiots. If you're going to wear it right. Don't look like a complete fool.
Hey, no kidding. I was at the doctor's VA appointment just the other day, yesterday I think, and I was in the X-ray lab. They're taking my X-ray, and I can see through that that little window behind a protective wall.
Yeah.
And while they're looking at my image, and the woman is wearing a mask, and she lifts off her mask, coughs, and then puts it back on. I'm like, when she came over, I said, I caught you. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's another thing that not directly related to Terry's story, though, but a lot of the anti-mask crusaders, to justify their position, keep on saying, well, the masks don't work anyways. Well, if it's about the reliability and the effectiveness of the mask, then get a better mask, and then that won't be an issue. But they're just using that as an excuse to not wear any masks at all, which pretty much counterproductive to the whole argument about medical masks not working in the first place. Since this COVID-19 has progressed in the past 6 or 7 months, there's a whole bunch of consumer reusable masks out there that are better at filtering out viruses and like COVID-19 0.1 micron and droplet particulates than medical masks are. But don't use that as an excuse if to not wear a mask at all when all that you need to do is to get a better mask, and there you go.
How about the use of the cloth mask? Why don't you just use a cyclone fence to stop mosquitoes from coming in? That's so useless. I can't stand the idea. It's like, really? But
yeah, it depends on the cloth. I can guarantee the bandana sucks. That way.
The weave is not going to be tight enough for anything.
Right.
Yeah. Personally, I think you just need to use better judgment. It's just like catching the flu. Really, this thing is just like catching the flu, because it seems like the contraction rate. There's more people catching the annual flu than there is this, and there's a lot more people dying from it. So it's like, all right, look, just treat this like the flu. Use common sense. If you want to go to the mall, fine, go to the mall. Do what you got to do, but don't be hanging around.
Oh,
you don't have to be standing next to people that you don't know.
Right.
I mean, a little bit of social distancing. Don't freak out about it, but use some common sense. I think that's fine. That's all you need. But I'm also I want to put in a caveat. I live in a country. I live out in the country. I don't live in an urban or inner city areas.
I can attest to that.
We don't have this problem around where I'm at. So.
And that's probably where me and Terry are going to part ways. Because I have lost some people to COVID-19, I'm going to wear a mask either way. I don't want to be responsible for...
right.
I don't want to catch it, but at the same time, if I'm a carrier and I don't know about it, if I am, I'm definitely asymptomatic, but I still need to go in for the test. I don't want to be the guy to give to someone else.
Right. It's called being a responsible adult. That's what it's called.
Exactly. But we need that consistency across the entire board, and that's not happening right now. And a lot of it, these anti-mask crusade is pretty much throwing that responsibility argument out the window at this point.
My wife and I were in Thailand when this hit. We were in Thailand on vacation to see family from the December 26th until the first week of February. We started finding out about it in like the middle of January.
No, you only found out about it. You only found out about it because I sent you an email or a messenger on Facebook and said, "Have you heard about this? What do you know about it?" And you're saying, "What?" And then you started paying attention. Don't sit there and act like you just came up with it on your own, you lying bastard.
I didn't say that. I said I did. I started knowing about this in like the middle of January. Honestly, I don't even remember how I found out. But
I just told you.
Likely, yeah.
Are you living in denial? Right. What?
No, I said I don't remember how I got it, but I think you're right. Anyways, by the time that we were coming home in February, right? In February, and John can confirm this, I said we're going to self-quarantine.
You did.
Because at the time, the numbers were horrible.
Oh,
okay. We didn't know.
Plane loads coming back from
were horrible.
Plane loads are coming back from China and being quarantined. The entire damn flight was. But
there was Chinese all over the place because of the Chinese New Year,
And you went, you went through Seoul, Korea, and then to Atlanta. So
exactly.
A 19-hour flight.
And yes, and we did wear masks. We washed our hands. We used hand sanitizer. We did every precaution we could without being all frantic about it. Well, we took precautions, and then when we got home, we were, except for one small quick trip to Walmart to get your milk and your eggs and stuff like that, and then we went straight home, and then we didn't see anybody for at least 2 weeks because we self-quarantined just to be responsible about it.
Right.
So you just got to use common sense. Don't be all freaky about it and stuff.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything more to say on it. I pretty much said my piece on the whole thing. So
all right.
I think I'm done.
Okay.
What topics were you going to talk about today?
Well, I was going to talk about the coming Civil War. Why there is a coin shortage and 6 essential maps to store before. Well, you need the 6 essential maps that you need to store before an EMP. But that's what I was going to blabber on about. But I could save those topics for another show.
Okay. Yeah, you could definitely do that. I would say, and I'll leave that up to you.
What's the matter, Chuck?
How about the Boogie Boys, Boogaloo Boys?
For me, I think COVID-19 is serious.
It's serious if you get it.
Well, yeah, it's serious if you get it, or it's serious if you spread it.
Right.
If you have a 4% fatality rate, that means for every 100 people that get infected, 4 people will die. 200, 8 people will die. It will continue to grow because the cases keep on spreading. As the cases keep on spreading, the death counts will continue to grow. That would be the case if the rate of fatalities is 2%, 4%, 6%, or 10%. And God help us all if it gets to 10%. But you're not doing it any favors by accidentally going around without a mask and spreading it around, because if it gets concentrated enough, then the fatality rates will indeed grow. That's math 101. If you're not going to at least acknowledge that, then good luck with the whole common sense strategy.
Well, there you have it.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. If you got people around you, and if you live in you don't live in a city type area or in the country, do you?
No, I'm in this far out suburb, so it's like a blend.
Yeah. So you got a lot more people around here. I mean, and I live on a farm, so it's like I'm easy. You know what I mean? And like.
That didn't come out right.
For me, we just right. A lot of us. I mean, we've only got like a half a dozen cases in the whole county.
Yeah,
that's it.
What state are you in right now?
Missouri.
Okay. No, and I'm gonna follow up on that, because I've been copying down the national case and fatality count for each state individually, and the data that I collected was from Monday morning, 12:30 a.m. Central Standard. So I'm going to check it again tonight at midnight. I'll be exactly 48 hours, give or take, and I want to see what the numbers are looking like. Again, I remind everyone, the numbers are skewed. So there's lots of the case and death counts have been escalated, inflated artificially, horribly. Still, I can still use it to gauge spread and growth, and so that's what I'm going to use it for. As soon as I have those numbers out, John, I'll probably email you those figures later.
All right. Well, you can come back on and talk about it. All right, hold on. I got to do my final break for our final segment. We'll be right back after this. listeners. This is John Jeffers of the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network. I want to talk to you, the members of the intelligentsia. And you are members of the intelligentsia because you listen to Contra Radio Network. And all of our shows are heard around the world. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is if you're looking to do a show, a podcast, I urge you to come on over and check out Contra Radio Network. Now, the best thing about this is this. This is something we have. You know, with Contra Radio Network, we do a live streaming on Live 365. And because we do, you can have copyrighted music in your programs because we're covered under the BMI and ASCAP licensing. And that's really cool. And let me tell you something else, my friends. We'll allow you to do any show you want to do on any subject matter. That's right. So do me a favor. Why don't you come on over to Contra Radio Network, check out our rates. I guarantee you're going to find it to be not only competitive, but we can beat most everybody. So check out ContraRadioNetwork.com/CRN-broadcasting. That's ContraRadioNetwork.com/CRN-broadcasting. I'm John Jeffers, right here on the Jeffers Brief on Contra Radio Network, saying thank you to the intelligentsia. Come on over and give us a try. You won't be sorry, I promise.
At Stag Arms, there is no weak side. Our rifles are 100% American-made, including each and every part assembled. We aim to provide recreational shooters, law enforcement officers, hunters, and professional shooters with super quality and competitively priced rifles. Every rifle shipped is built to order. Check out Stag Arms now. Log on to ContraRadioNetwork.com and click on the Stag Arms banner.
All right, welcome back to the Jeffers Brief. I'm John Jeffers. My guest tonight is Terry Kaas and Chuck Cook. They're on the call-in line. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Go ahead. Let's wrap this bad boy up.
So to summarize everything, this is Chuck. It's my personal view that a lot of these commercial companies, you know, Walgreens, Walmart, Target, CVS, you know, there might be some new stores being added to that list who will have mandatory mask policies. A lot of people won't like it. For me, I like to, you know, go to the path of least resistance. I don't want to start controversy. I just want to zip in and zip out.
Right.
I don't care how anyone feels mask. I just want to get the shit that I need for my family.
Right.
So for me, I'll wear the mask, whatever, just so that I can get my fried chicken, so I can get my milk, eggs, and bread, you know, or order something from whatever restaurant that requires a mask. So for me, I'll do that. I don't compare to and like I said, a couple of people have already died in my family from COVID-19. Compared to that, wearing a mask to me is a small price to pay for preventing another death, and that's how I view it. So, but it is a judgment call.
Well, it's personal for you.
Yeah, for me, it's very personal. Yeah, it doesn't. That you should. What Terry said, you need to.
Terry? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had the phone next to my face. I was breathing into the mic, wasn't I? I'm sorry.
Put a mask on.
I'm really sorry you had this in your family, not just once, but twice. But like, and if I was in your shoes, I mean, I think I'm smart enough. Like I told my boys, like, if you think maybe you came in contact, by accident, right? You came in contact with some people and you're questioning your health, go get a test or self-quarantine yourself for a week or so. Just, hang out at home and just don't go anywhere for a while. See how you feel in a couple of days. Monitor yourself. But if you think that you're going to be spreading anything. You got to be responsible for this. You know, you are responsible. My best buddy, his mom is in her 70s, and if she got COVID-19, forget it. She's gonna die. That's just too many health problems already, and no, she's gonna die. So we've already got a plan. Like, if something happens to him, he's not going anywhere. They're gonna stay at home, and I'm gonna take care of his mom. And so it's like,
well, bless them.
but we try our best to make sure we take care of her, for if anybody.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And good for you too. I hope that you all come out of this, you know, unscathed.
Well, there you have it. Well, gentlemen, thank you for a good episode. You know, in case you guys didn't know, not only did we just recently breach the 50,000 download marker, but we're getting pretty popular. CRN's getting pretty popular in the country of Bahrain. If you can imagine that. But they listen. Bahrain, out in the Middle East, that little tiny country. Amazingly enough. But, yes.
Maybe they got a couple Americans over there.
I'm thinking, well, there is a Navy base there, so I'm wondering if they're picking it up there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, how you guys doing in Bahrain?
Yes.
Send us a message.
There you go. You can direct
Hey,
it.
how many minutes we got in this?
Well, we got about 5 minutes or so.
Okay. Another thing that I'm noticing, if I can add one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Another thing that I'm noticing is that CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, and
The New York Times.
New York Times, yeah, they still offer some international coverage, though, but a lot of the international coverage is really diminished now. They're not covering, like, you know, or continuing any focus on what's happening in the South China Sea, what's happening at the India border,
Right.
what's happening geopolitically between, you know, Turkey and Russia with regards to Assad and the country of Syria. So that has me really, really concerned about the overall world awareness of Americans, because there's so much focus on COVID-19 and you know, social trivia from one country, random country to the next, rather than the geopolitical movement.
Right.
That could result in military escalation or perhaps a financial crash or something like that no Americans will know what hit them because there was no warning about it by the American news media. So I would like to basically promote for American audience to not rely on CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, and New York Times, but do try to get your information from other news sources. Reuters is still good. They have really good coverage. They've never diminished it at all. But you know, at the same time, as much as I don't like Russia Today or RT,
Yeah.
it would be interesting what Russia says about one thing, what Reuters says about something else, and you can do a comparison and come to your own conclusions. But either way, the more information you have about the world around you, the more prepared you will be. That's always been the foundational belief of being a prepper, and I believe that it applies here as well.
You know, one thing you have to remember, back in late January, and you can go back on the CRN Facebook page, go all the way back, you will see me posting stories that I did from the British press. They were screaming about the Wuhan virus, the outbreak in Wuhan, China. And all the media here in the United States was worried about was impeachment. That was what they do. And don't forget, the media in this country is politically invested in a Democratic victory. They're not even legitimate news organizations anymore. They stopped doing that decades ago. Now, it's, you know...
Malaysia was the same thing. Malaysia was very big up on it, too.
Yeah, and so was Australia.
Yeah.
But what Chuck is talking about when it comes down to the U.S. media, they can't be trusted. First of all, they can't be trusted to tell you the truth, and they can't be trusted to tell you what the hell's going on elsewhere. That's the bottom line.
Okay. Yeah, you got to look out for the smoke screen to wag the tail,
Wag the tail.
There's too much smoke screen happening right now. But if you're one of the silent majority, the ones who really don't speak their opinions out very much online or in social media or whatever, but you'd rather let your ballots do the talking on Election Day,
right?
Then I urge you to do what you can to increase your awareness of what's happening outside of the United States as well. Because there's more at stake than just COVID-19 and whether or not Trump is going to be president for the next 4 years. There's a lot more at stake. And a lot of stuff outside the United States and out of control from Trump that can spell danger for the United States, if not militarily, then definitely economically. So, just do what you can to get as much information to be informed and aware as much as possible. That's the best thing I can say at this point.
All right, gentlemen.
One American News Network has a really good program.
Waiting.
Which network is that?
Yeah.
We're waiting. Tell us, Terry.
Oh, that's all. I was going to say One American News Network
OAN
has
yeah.
a really good program.
I like OAN.
Not the news programs, like in the middle of the day. They have some really good news. You get a lot more news out of them than you do out of any other news agency on TV in the same amount of period of time.
Gentlemen, we've reached that point in our program. I'm going to give each of you a chance to give off your final thoughts. Mr. Cook, would you care to begin?
Do the best that you can to protect yourself, but also your loved ones. Act responsibly. Have situational awareness around your community and even other communities that you're traveling through. COVID-19 will kill. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of who. It's not even a question of numbers. It's a matter of whom. And if you agree with wearing a mask or not, you want to be a patriot, fine. But if you lose someone in your family as a result of it, then that's not a win. That's a tragic loss.
Right.
That's all that I'm going to say on that matter.
Mr.
Thanks for the final word.
No problem. Mr. Kaas.
Right. And you do make up some really great points about that. And I've always tried to be a fair guy. I try to listen. Even if somebody says something, which you're not, even if somebody says something completely opposite of me, like politically or anything, I try to keep an open mind. I like to tell everybody to just the old reminder of the other stories and all of the times we've ever talked. Keep your powder dry, stay calm, keep your head on the swivel. Don't get too worked up about what's happening in some location across the United States. Be informed. You can be angry about it, but I wouldn't be trying to travel across the United States to join Minnesota or Washington State in their fight. They got enough good old boys in their area, and they need to take care of themselves.
And they will.
You need to think about your local areas, and keep your powder dry. Keep thinking about what you need to plan for, because it's getting kind of weird out there.
There it is. All right. I want to thank my guests, Chuck Cook, Terry Kaas, for calling in tonight, taking time out of their evening to spend with me and through me to you. Thank you, gentlemen, for your insights and for your comments. I appreciate it. I do want to do this again because I've got some other things I want to talk about. Until then, I'm John Jeffers here on the Jeffers Brief on Contra Radio Network saying thanks for listening, and we will see you soon. Have a good one, folks. Be safe. Be careful.